Okay, Basket Case, which was released in 1982, the year I was born.
Oh.
Yeah, the year I was born.
Look at that.
Featuring amazing special effects from start to finish. And that is no way to judge a movie at all.
No. Not in 1982.
I just sort of tangentially knew a little bit about this before I saw it. Like, all I knew was the basic plot. And you didn't know much until I mentioned it, I think.
Right, I had never heard of it at all. And then you mentioned it, and you kind of told me what it was about a little bit. So I had some information going in. But yeah, I don't know if anything can fully prepare you.
It's quite the experience. And there were actually a lot of things I liked about it.
In general, I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it either, but I also don't know if I would say that I would rewatch it.
No, I don't feel the need to watch that again.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies I would watch again if like a bunch of people came over and we were like drinking and I was like, oh my God, we gotta put on this ridiculous movie. And I want to watch your faces watch this movie.
What kind of surprised me about it, and I'm jumping like way ahead, is it almost gets, I don't know if this is the right word to use, but it almost gets kind of like Freudian toward the end. Oh, yeah. Like there's like some layered stuff happening there.
Absolutely is. Like, and that's the part that like made me like the movie, is it's not just, I mean, it's ridiculous, but it has a purpose to its ridiculousness. Like, there's a story. There's a real story going on here. A real conflict.
So, in a nutshell, the plot is about a pair of conjoined twins, one of which is mostly what would be considered normal in the way they were formed. The other is kind of like, looks like Krang. If you've seen Ninja Turtles. Have you ever seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Remember the brain Krang?
Yeah.
Reminds me a lot of Krang, except really isn't able to speak, except telepathically.
Yeah, they can communicate telepathically. And to, like, give the movie some credit, you don't know this right away. Mm-hmm. Like, it is revealed to you later. He's just this... There's just a basket. There's just a basket that he carries around, and everyone wants to know what's in the basket.
Well, and the conjoined twin that is attached to... Is it Dwayne? Because I remember the name Dwayne is being shouted, like, nonstop in this movie. Dwayne!
Yeah, Dwayne is the name of the regular... twin.
Yes. Well, so the is it Belial? I think that was the name.
I don't remember.
I think that's it. I can't believe I remember that. The other reason I remembered it was I was looking on Etsy at Belial.
Oh,
things.
Okay. Yes.
It just basically shrieks otherwise, right?
Yes.
Like, so it just shrieks and it's really hideous sounding. And he's got like fang-like teeth and sharp, and his eyes glow at one point.
Yes,
which
they do.
I don't really understand what that was supposed to be.
He's like an overgrown tumor with arms.
Yeah.
Is like basically what he is.
That's a good way to describe it. That's what it is.
And really gross long fingernails.
Yeah, so...
that he likes to put in people's mouths.
So, basically the movie starts with Dwayne carrying a basket around New York City, trying to find a place to stay. You don't really know why he's there, but he finds a relatively seedy establishment to stay at, pulls out a whole wad of cash.
Which we're not sure how he got.
Yeah, they never really explained that, unless they stole it from the person that was murdered earlier in the movie.
I didn't get the sense that he was a thief. I did not... Like, a conspiracy and accessory to murder, but a thief? Like, come on.
So, I mean, basically what this boils down to is these twins were separated without being... They didn't consent to that happening, they're upset about this, especially Belial, and so there's kind of this plot to kill all the doctors that were involved with this. That's basically... that in a nutshell, right? I mean, that's the plot, basically. It's completely as absurd as it would sound, but I gotta say, I give it credit for, I think, what are mostly pretty solid practical effects. Yeah. Minus the stop motion. Like,
well, but 1982, what are you gonna do?
I see, and I'm thinking that too, but I'm like, there were movies in 1982 that had way better special effects.
Oh, and I'm sure they had a lot more money.
Right, exactly. Huger budgets, that kind of stuff. And I don't know if there would have been a way to film some scenes, because there's not much stop motion. There's like a handful of scenes where he falls out of the basket, off of a dresser, and he's sort of flailing around. And
he's very strong.
He's very strong, Yeah. And the funny thing is, to me, the death scenes are basically a rubber hand just touching a face.
Oh, yeah, it's just a face and...
blood.
Yes, like, blood. That's why, his hand, face, blood, dead. Oh, and also fangs. And, like, they're trying to, like, cut them in half. It's almost like they're trying to do to them what was done to them. Like, they want to separate...
That's a good observation. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, they are. He, like, fangs them... their torsos to like separate them and be like, here's the pain you caused me.
So
vengeance.
So it's just comically overdone, right? I mean, and I will say I thought the acting was horrifically bad in it.
Well, duh.
Yeah, I mean,
and I especially love. Was she the receptionist? There's like that girl. She you know what it reminded me of is Sleepaway Camp.
Okay,
it had a very similar aesthetic,
which came out around that same time.
Yeah, it did, and. the acting. It's like these people who it feels very natural, and then like it shifts, and it feels almost dreamlike the way that they're talking to each other.
It's weird.
And then it shifts back into like, oh, reality again.
Yeah, the dialogue is almost, I don't know if too self-aware is the word, but kind of.
Yeah.
And the delivery of it isn't always great. Like,
right.
And I think it was, which character was it? The vet. The character that was the vet.
Oh, yeah, she's a doctor, and then you find out at the end she's actually a veterinarian that was responsible for separating them.
There's one scene where Dwayne and Belial are in the veterinarian's office trying to, get their revenge.
Yeah.
And she says something like, that's interesting. Please follow me to this room. And the way that she delivers the line is just the most, like, stilted.
Yeah.
I was laughing pretty hard whenever it happened.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, that whole scene was quite ridiculous because, like, she's screaming quite a lot.
Yeah.
And no one seems too concerned.
Right. I mean, she had two assistants who I think eventually start knocking on the door.
They're like, I hear some noises. What is that? And then, like, the screaming continues. And then they're like, maybe we should check on that.
And I think the assistants were also twins.
They look like twins.
I don't know if there was supposed to be any kind of, like, connection going on there. I don't know, really. Maybe she separated them and then they worked for her or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe.
But I will say, I mean, overall, I think the movie has a certain charm to it because of how low budget it is.
Yeah.
But also, on the flip side of that, I thought the directing was so bad. Like, there are just parts where the camera, it's just like, put the camera on a tripod and have it be still, but it's just shaking for no good reason in particular. Like, clearly somebody's just holding it and walking around.
Right.
Which, who knows what the budget was. Maybe, like, $20 in a pack of them. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I would have done it for that.
So I've talked a lot, but what do you think?
Well, no, and that's why, like, yes, it's ridiculous, as it should be. It's called Basket Case. Duh.
Which is a great name for it.
Duh. But, like, I appreciated there was, like, a real story here. Like, as ridiculous as it was. And Dwayne, our main character, he falls in love with a girl and doesn't want her to get hurt. And then, spoiler, when she does die, which was a little confusing, then he wants vengeance on his deformed tumor twin. Like,
that should have been the alternate name for this.
It probably was.
Twin. Yeah. So that I think to me, I wouldn't say the wheels totally come off, but at the end, it becomes a very like surreal sort of thing. Like, I don't really understand.
Oh, and they're like, then they get into a fight and they're dangling off the hotel and like.
Yeah.
I was kind of falling asleep at that point.
Yeah, I just think I was a little bit confused about what they were going for. Like, it felt like they were trying to shoehorn in some kind of subtext just at the very end about, I don't know, like, he's having this dream and he's running around completely naked, and it's just, it's a weird, I don't know, it was just, while that's happening, he's able to telepathically, I guess, see what his brother is doing while he goes and violently attacks this girl that he's been with.
And they spend a good amount of the movie doing, like, a flashback to fill in all this exposition. Like, when it started, I was like, oh, okay, and then it kept going. I'm like, oh, are we just gonna, like, stop the story and fill in everything that occurred? Because it's like they jumps back to when they were born, and then it's like 10 years later, and then it's like today, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, we could have done that other times, but cool, fine. Yeah, let's just do that all right now.
I mean, I thought that flashback actually worked pretty well. Like, it was,
it filled in the gaps without giving, but I also feel like, I don't know, I got a lot of what was going on. Like,
like, you didn't necessarily need that much
all
of it.
Those details, and then I thought it was interesting that there was apparently one woman who wanted to care for both of them.
Right. Kind of like an aunt figure or something.
Like, she loved the deformed tumor twin just as much as she loved the regular twin. But then we never, like, heard about her again. Like, where is she now? I don't know. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, didn't they? At one point, she dies, right? Like, I mean, because you see,
that
was in the casket.
Oh,
and that's when they kind of branched out on their own.
Okay, you know what? I don't think I recognized that it was her, and I was also probably a little asleep. I knew there was.
You mean this didn't grip you from the beginning and completely enrapture you the whole time?
I had taken a melatonin, so it's not totally the movie's fault. But okay, now that makes more sense. She died. Okay, and then they're like, okay, well, if we don't have her, we only have each other. Revenge.
Right.
It would have been nice if they had tried to rejoin.
Right. Right at the end, they like force the doctors to sew them back together or something.
Ooh. Oh, and maybe that's what happens in the sequels.
I was about
to
say there is a basket case 2 and 3, and I think the third one is the last one. I'm not sure. And they actually came back. They came out pretty close together in the early 90s. Like I think one was 91, one was 93, something like that.
Maybe it's time for a reboot. I don't know.
I feel like actually though, this could be a super cool modern horror movie if somebody did remake it.
Yeah, especially with like the effects that we have today and stuff.
Yeah.
It could be interesting.
Maybe with a little bit more of like a beefed up story potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, and it reminds. I can't think of the movie it reminds me of, but there is a. That's what it was. It was Malignant.
I don't think I've ever seen Malignant.
Really?
Yeah, I have not seen Malignant.
Okay.
Should I watch Malignant?
You should absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, Malignant is really good.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll say now.
Okay. So yeah, no spoilers.
Yeah, it reminded me. It reminded me of Basket Case, or Basket Case reminded me of that.
So, I don't know. Is there anything else to talk about with Basket Case?
Well, I do appreciate that there are layers to the deformed tumor twin. Like, he's not just a bad guy. He is also sort of looking for love.
Sort of.
He sneaks into that one woman's room and tries to touch her in her sleep. She didn't appreciate that.
Yeah. But she had this weird obsession with smiley faces, too. Did you notice that? Like, everything in her room had a smiley face on it.
I kind of did.
It was a little weird, but anyway,
So, but, like, there were layers to the story. It wasn't just he's only out for vengeance. He had other things he was seeking, and he couldn't get those things, No one could accept him for the way he looked, or that he killed people, or ate them, or...
Never judge a book by its cover.
I think that's an important lesson.
Yeah. From
this movie. I also enjoyed the scene where he was just feeding him hot dogs.
Right, just emptying a pack of hot dogs in there. And I think like when he finally gets that room in New York at the beginning, he goes across the street and buys pizza and burgers.
Yeah, gets him a bunch of food. And this is like before you really know kind of what's going on. So like I knew, but if I hadn't known, I'd be like, what is in that basket? Like what is going on? And there might have been a reveal for me when I finally saw it.
Yeah.
But I did know.
I mean, so my takeaway from this is I think it's an interesting little slice of horror history. Like, it's not great by any stretch of the imagination, but if you like horror films and you're okay with some schlockiness, because that's really what this is.
Oh, yeah.
It's enjoyable,
It's definitely one of those movies I feel like I would have watched in, like, 8th grade when we went to, like, Blockbuster and we're looking for B movies. Like, it's something I would have rented and watched, and then, like, that would have been something I watched all the time with my friends. So, like, that's the vibe it gives me. Like, if you've got a bunch of people coming over and you want to watch a horror movie that's ridiculous, this is a great one to pick.
Are we gonna watch part 2 and 3, or probably not?
We'll see. I don't feel particularly compelled to watch 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But we'll just see how bored I get someday.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Summer's coming up. I got a lot of free days in the summer, so... If
the other movies are also on Tubi or Amazon or something, then maybe...
I won't pay to watch it.
Right, I would not pay to watch
it.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay to watch this either.
No.
But if Tubi's free, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if you have access to that, then...
You get some commercials, you get your potty break,
Yeah, so... What are we doing next? Are we doing Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2?
Because we still want to, but it just depends.
On when it's released. And we had talked about, was it Bride of Frankenstein or something?
We had talked about something like that.
Yeah, but I don't recall which one specifically.
I don't recall either.
We will chat amongst ourselves.
Or whatever random movie pops up, and you're like, hey, watch this. And I'll be like, okay, and then we'll review it.
Like the RoboCop remake, we were talking about that last time.
Yeah, because I did watch the OG last night. It's so sad.
I know.
I don't want to watch the remake.
The remake... I don't think is as sad, but you saw that one scene, which is like super unsettling.
It is unsettling in an emotional way.
Right.
Like the OG RoboCop is unsettling in like a guttural, visceral way.
Yeah.
But it's great.
Yeah,
it's a great movie
for sure. Okay, well, we will be back soon as always. Yes. Thanks for watching.